Talofa lava, whakalofa atu, malole soifua Samoa, and a warm Pacific greetings to everyone that's tuned in. Wow, hello to the 10 million viewers. Thank you for tuning in daily. We really appreciate it. But all jokes aside, how was your weekend? How was the photo shoot? How was your Sunday? Wa mai ia kākolea le I Samoa, America, Australia, and today we have a special all the way from Niue. Today I'm very, very excited to introduce our special guest, but we'll leave that we'll talk a little bit about that soon. How was your weekend, producer Lemo? He's giving me the thumbs up. How was it? Busy. And we have our team who have been extremely busy throughout the weekend because we've had back-to-back Mother's Day photo shoots, which has been pretty exciting. Yes, everyone, we are here at the Pacific Business Hub. And I'd like to remind our viewers, if you have a great idea for your business, man, head over. Don't worry, Laura is amazing. Pretty chilled, and she's able to give you a solution to help either your existing business or a new bright idea that you've got. I've had a few bright ideas, and I don't want to really talk about the flops, but Laura has been able to direct me into the right, direction to be able to set up a successful business. She's all about giving the solutions, and today she was able to help out our special guest. A very, very special guest that I'll bring on shortly. What else do we have to? Let's see if we've got any shout outs online. So let's quickly jump on there. A massive shout out to, we've had a few people over the weekend who's been coming through to provide us with meals over the weekend. So, whawhetai lava to all of our small businesses who have come through to support. We're going to be sharing also some footage, a wā I le kako weekend lenga yei. And if you haven't already, please contact the Blue Wave team, a wā I le kako promotion le Mother's Day. We've got Daisy, who's still working behind the scenes, and we've got also Bali, who's been really busy getting all of our footage done and put together. If you haven't already, please head over to our Facebook page, hit like, share, and also we're on TikTok. Anyways, that's it. I better stop talking because we want to get to know a little bit more about MakaNet. That's right, we have the founder and owner of MakaNet, the very first and the only Pacific-owned internet service provider in New Zealand. And he does reside in Niue, and he's pretty intelligent. And the one thing that I learned today was that you don't actually have to wait. I think I usually wait about an hour to try and wait to be transferred to India or to the Philippines for my current internet provider, and you get to learn a little bit more about Umani Louis and his service. But I'm interested about how he got into all of this because it's a pretty big game out there, and he's pretty brave. So right after this music break, he is going to answer your internet problems. And you know what? Today, I think that's going to come to an end because you're going to be able to meet the owner himself. And also, I think he's going to hook up that freebie for you guys. Just kidding. Straight after this break, we're going to talk a little bit more to number one, the only Pacific-owned internet service provider in New Zealand, Imani Louis. Straight after the break. Talofa lava everyone and welcome back to your BluTable Talanoa mole nei aso for your Monday afternoon, and I am absolutely excited to introduce our special guest who's travelled all the way from Niue just to be on the show. But with today we have your one and only internet service provider here in New Zealand, the Pacific-owned founder and owner here, Mani Louis, in studio today, or in the office today, to answer some very difficult questions. I think I mentioned earlier on, we had a chilled conversation, and then all of a sudden I'm like here nervous because I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like keep up with this. I'm really excited. I was really excited, and now I'm nervous. Talking about the common problems we have with the internet, but more the story. Imani, talofa lava, and welcome.
Talofa lava, thank you for having me here. It's good to be on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure to see you here, and thank you for making the time for us.
That's
because
for
all of our viewers that have tuned in, MakaNet is our internet provider here at Blue and here at the Pacific Business Hub. Mani, I'll let you do a little bit of a spiel on your, introduce yourself and give our viewers a little bit about yourself that I can't provide for our viewers. You give me a little bit of an insight.
Thank you for the time. It's good to be here. My name is Imani, as has been mentioned. I'm the owner and founder of MakaNet, the first Pacific owned ISP in New Zealand. I am originally from Niue and currently residing in Niue as well. I've been here 2 weeks. It's trouble-free. So there wasn't any quarantine coming from benefit. Families on business. Anyway, came here a few years back and looking to something, and the only thing that I know what to do is services. Been running my own in Niue, long time now. Alfie in New Zealand. I came to the Pacific Business Hub. Laura, ask her one question. I owned ISP in New Zealand and just offer my experience and my know-how, my knowledge. I was told that there wasn't any, and I was quite surprised by this. So then I went away and thought about it, decided to start one, and specifically to cater to our Pacific homes here in New Zealand, but specifically as well in South Auckland, where a lot of our people currently living. So through the time of 2019, now we've been providing services to specific businesses, homes, as well as community-based stations, churches, schools, quite a few schools as well. So we've been growing our numbers, and it's been important for us to provide connection for families, especially during the lockdown. As you know, a lot of our people might not have had that connectivity to their homes. We bring in the fiber through Chorus and then into their homes. So this is a legitimate internet service, not piggybacking off the neighbor. We're bringing it through the Chorus network and other infrastructure providers in New Zealand. So we're very happy to be able to do this part on behalf of our people. Then just on top of that, over the time that we've seen impact of COVID on our people, gone out to funding partners and providers, be able to fund some of our families to get online for free. No cost at all. Basically, internet, fiber, unlimited, period of 6 months, including the router and.
We're sitting here and we were talking a little bit about, your work and how we spoke a little bit about how you've come back to New Zealand. You went door knocking as well. And how, can you explain it to, or just give us a little bit of an insight on that? Because, and you don't have to mention who you went to. The door knocking go, because you mentioned that there was a lot of no's, and you've also mentioned that there was nothing of this sort, like the service for our Pacifica, or you couldn't connect with anyone in our Pacific community on that level because there was no one.
Yes, when I arrived in New Zealand, I firstly went to, support organisations here in New Zealand, specifically also for the Pacific people in business. And I think at that point, it was a little bit difficult for them to understand that here's a guy from Niue in the islands coming to New Zealand, wanting to start a business, but not just a business, but one that involves satellite.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of an awkward kind of a task to understand how would that go about. So I really wanted to work with our Pacifica people, as well as providing a service to the rural communities, those that live in, say, maraes and communities outside of the urban areas. And I couldn't get anywhere with that, so I ended up talking to some of the other bigger companies and organizations that deal, even like a place like Crown Fibre that looks after the fibre for New Zealand on behalf of the government services. So it's really difficult to be an island guy turning up at the doorstep and saying, okay, we're going to be doing something in satellite.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be talking about satellite, it's another to be an islander talking about satellite. So it's totally, different kind of a ball game. So anyway, I found some Kiwi guys that understood, the nature of the business and how we could grow. So I worked with them over the period of 2 years. I basically installed on behalf of the new company all the satellite dishes that went from the North Island to the South Island. I drove most of North Island myself, being away from home for 2 to 4 days a week, just to install these satellite dishes in far, far away places. So I was fortunate in, if there's one thing that I could take away from having that experience and operating your first, company business in New Zealand, was just being able to drive around the nice places in New Zealand away from urban areas. Most of the back roads, I've been on those roads, and especially here up in North Island, upper north, Northland, far north, as well as flying into the South Island and driving around the bottom right across the west coast. So it was really, really good to see the areas that probably some of our people, even the Kiwis who live in North Island, have said they've never left North Island now.
Really?
So I was fortunate enough to do those long trips. It was hard, but I was committed to starting the company, and it started quite well. It's still running right now, and I left that company last year. So I'm just, fortunate and happy that I had a hand to play in that role. So then I came to do this part of, coming back to doing what I love best, providing a service to our people, as well as helping them get things done, especially when it comes to internet. You need to have an internet service at home. With our Pacifica people, as we know, it's not just one family that could be doing it. Visiting families are coming across to see what's going on, and then saying hello by using your internet. And then you have a congestion problem, and then it slows down everything. Plus also the kids who play all the online games. So we provide a great service for all of our Pacifica people.
It's that congestion problem because let's face it, if we have a funeral or a birthday, the number one question that we ask when we go to anyone's house is, what's the Wi-Fi password? And I can, hand on heart, I am number one. I can tell you right now that I'm connected to every single person's house.
Almost everyone is like that, I guess.
I am connected. And the congestion problem has now been my number one issue. But today we spoke about their congestion problem. How can MakaNet come up with a solution with that? And you've answered it. Tell our viewers how you are able to help with that problem.
So when we started offering fiber to businesses, that was our first business. It wasn't to homes, but as time went by, some of the business owners asked us, basically understood the value of our product and our service, and they saw that it was doing really well, so they asked us to provide the service to their homes as well. So we started moving out into the domestic scene, and then from there it grew. But the point to understand is that our fiber and services on a business grade network. So when the businesses leave at 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, the service becomes available for our customers who are going home and who are already at home. And we are not oversubscribed. So it means that, like other big providers, you could be one of thousands. You could be one of millions. So you're trying to fight for that network to get a connection. With us, you're basically VIP. You're premium to us.
Premium.
So we give you the great service that you require. And on top of that, we don't provide a free router. If you want a free router, you can get that from somewhere else or join another provider for us. We want to give quality. The only way to do that is to give a quality router that is able to handle more than the whole family and everyone else coming in the weekend. So that no one is congested.
That's the biggest problem, is the congestion on the weekend when we're all trying to, I don't know, I think, what is it with that? We have the internet and you want to come together as a family and gather together, because what was it? We always put up memes and say, oh man, you know, want to see my family, I miss them. But as soon as we get together in a family gathering or social gathering, the first thing we do is seek the internet. Like, I just don't understand why that is. Do you have?
I think it's like that for every other family. It's just the age and the era that we're in. You know, having devices and smartphones is a common thing, especially for the children. Not like before when our people used to congregate during, you know, all the events and the weekends. There wasn't anything about having a device. So even if one child has a device and every other children, you know, of the family is going to congregate over one child just to see what's going on.
That very spoiled child that has that expensive advice.
I don't think it's anything too different. It's just that the time that we're in right now is demanding for kids to have that. And sometimes it's also comes down to like adults having their own time to talk about stuff, and then the kids are having
entertainment,
their
own entertainment.
So no one is over there looking after kids. We're all over here chatting about, you know, who's who and what's going on.
Okay, for our viewers, because for myself, I don't have a wealth of knowledge with regards to the internet service sector, whatever. I think the only thing is, for me, what the Wi-Fi password is, and that means to me a router. What is, for our viewers and for myself who don't understand what a router is, what is a router?
Basically, a router is a communications tool. It's a device that takes the connection from the fiber that's been provided on the wall and then redistributes it over wireless or on a wire that comes to, say, a computer or something else. But most times, most homes have just Wi-Fi, which is basically wireless. It's connecting a phone or device over Wi-Fi to the router. So the router is that one equipment that works hard out like some futuristic brain to translate all that information that is needed between each of your device to talk to and get also the information brought back. So if you're typing in google.com, that router is understanding that part and requesting that to the outside world and bringing it into your device. Without that router, then your device has no connection. That's all there is.
And that's what you provide.
So we provide the router with the service, with the monthly fiber.
I get it now. Now I'm like thinking, I think I will be changing my internet provider today because I do not want to share. It is a common thing that now, as soon as everyone comes, it's the first thing is, what's the Wi-Fi password? And I just didn't understand all of this. And our internet is quite slow. I'm not going to mention the provider.
Well, it's definitely not Makanet.
It's not Makanet, that's for sure. But man, that's interesting. Like, I know I shouldn't be asking, but you know that router, does that hold data, like store information about?
No, so the only information that it will hold will be, say, the log. So a log in the sense would be the time that a device gets on and then a device gets off, what time the router starts up, what time it shuts off, because there are times when it comes on and off, how much of an update it takes and stuff. But it doesn't actually hold what website you're going to, unless you actually specifically make the router do that kind of thing. Okay, then it does that. But most times a router is just like let's say a bridge. It allows you to go to the world in the virtual.
Do other providers, big names, do they have that router service? Everyone has
one, but most of the providers, majority of them say we will give you a free router.
Yeah.
So a free router is the one that only 2 people, 3 people will get online, and the rest that comes on is going to slow everything down. So we want to provide a better router for our people. That's why we've gone out of our way to get one that specifically allows multiple access at any given time.
So I love that if you know our Pacifica people, you know how we congregate, you know how important our big family gatherings are. So this is your field. Or definitely, and you know your thing, because I'm like thinking, are you sure? But I can vouch for that. Like, and we're with a big name, with a big name, and there's only 2 really big names. So that we, in New Zealand, which is I'm not gonna say who is Vodafone and Spark. Those are the 2 major ones. My next question is, what inspired you? What inspired you to become Makanet, knowing that these 2 big names exist? And because I'm sitting there going, how do you? I'm not saying to go. I'm not saying that you can't go up against it, but you knew that when you opened up Makanet, that it was important to you, it was your baby, you were so passionate about it. What inspired you actually initially to do that? And did you have any fears with the 2 big providers?
For me, at the time, I was basically looking to offer a solution and offer a service to our people. I wasn't really concerned about the competition. Because I didn't see anyone else doing what I was going to do. I specifically and only focus on providing internet service to our Pacifica communities and people. I wasn't going to go out to New Zealand and become a top 2 or compete with the 100+ ISPs in New Zealand. I'm just a single, only, and first ISP that provides internet to our Pacific people. I wasn't concerned about anyone else. And yes, they could say that they provide to the Pacifica people as well, and they do. But when you ring them, you're not going to get, most definitely, 99% of the time, you're not going to have an islander speak in a tone and accent that we would be familiar with. There'll be someone from overseas answering your questions, asking you to restart your router.
Yes, because that is we spoke about that as well. A lot of the time, we get told as a customer, push 1 to talk to, push 2 to push 3. I think by the time I get to push 5, I'm like, oh my gosh, 0, 0, push 0. What Makanet has done is we don't need to push 0, right?
No, you call our number and it reaches us. It'll be one of myself or one of the staff that will be answering your call, and you can hear my voice. It's not, English is my second language.
Yeah.
My first is Niuean. So you're talking to an islander.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what our customers want to have, that exchange between familiarity, between, culture that understands each other, not someone who's somewhere located overseas. That has first no understanding of a particular place in Mangere or Mangere. So that's the kind of thing that, we need to understand. We are of Pacific descent. We know what our people need. We know what our people want because we are living it.
Basically, it's that personal touch that we all, as a Pacifica community, we love it. We love and how often can you tell your next door neighbor that, I spoke directly to the owner and founder of Makanet to provide a solution for our slow Wi-Fi issue. You won't be able to do that with these big providers. I can guarantee you that now. And so unless you actually walk in there and demand it, I don't even really think I know the CEO for these providers. But I can tell you that I know the CEO and the owner, the founder for Makanet, which is sitting right here, providing solutions. And I love that word is not saying I've had an incident when I've called, and the first thing after I push 0 10 million times, like 0 just put me through to an operator, is, hi, welcome. Have you turned off your modem? That is the common. What makes you different too? Because that's the common is, have you turned off your? No.
Well, our ground zero is here in South Auckland. That's simply because our team is located here in Manukau at the Pacific Business Hub. So if someone wants to call in, there's a problem, a real problem that they can't get online, our team, one of us will get to you and sort the problem out. We're not going to courier you a replacement router and hope for the best. And by you talking to us, because we are immersed in the field of, telco and internet, we can understand what's going on and we can tell you what the problem is. If you're talking to some call center that is overseas, they're going through a flow chart of answering those questions until you come back to the beginning of, have you restarted your router?
That is the common, that is the first thing I'm like, then, and I'll be honest, I say yes, I turned the modem off, I didn't. All I want is a solution, and that's what Makanet is, a solution to the slow Wi-Fi, being able to get rid of that congestion so that we can all connect and still have that speed right through. But you're helping our community, and it's not just helping the community, you're helping our community so that we can be up there with everyone else, so that we can gain the access for our kids to do their homework.
Yes, of course. Research has shown that Pacifica as well as Māori are on top of the list of not being connected. Digital tools are not being made use of. It was only during the COVID lockdown that there was a lot of understanding into the need of getting people connected, and to find that our people are one of the lowest that are not connected. So we work in that field to provide solutions with other ministries and other organizations to help our people come through that, so that we can be connected and take advantage and benefit from the tools such as online learning, looking for jobs, even doing your job online, and all those things that we may not have taken seriously before. Maybe a lot of us would have said, okay, I'm only going to be using the work internet, and then when I come home, I don't need that. I'll probably just use a bit of data, and then if we need to go use some real internet, we'll go down to the library or to the Macca's for free Wi-Fi. Whereas now, you almost need internet at all times, or not just for yourself, but also for the children and for doing everything else. A lot of people are taking up online opportunities, courses, as well as selling everything else. It could be over there. There's a new app that has just come out as well in terms of trying to rent what you might have at home. So there's opportunities for our people as well. I've sold some things on Facebook Marketplace, which is a great opportunity. So, of course, it's one thing to be connected. It's another to have a connection in your home. And then it's one thing to be connected in your office, whether it's a business or organization. But how well is your connection? Are you being ripped off by the big tiers? We've found that we've walked into some offices, seen their bills, and we've been able to reduce those bills by even up to 30% of the time. So if you're worried about how much it is and during these hard times, we can come in, call us, and we can sit with you, go through a non-committal quote, and then we can get you online. The right way.
The right way. The right way. Staying connected is probably one of the biggest things. The internet, important. It's important. And and I have I discussed with my brother at one stage as well how the internet, there was a word that I used was discipline, is trying to be disciplined. And I'll be honest, there's no such thing, because our life is all about connecting, the internet, work, everything is online. Let's face it, COVID proved it, and a lot of businesses grew after that first COVID hit.
Yeah, it's not just businesses. You can think of families. As a Pacifica people, we know that we congregate a lot of the times into families and friends and just enjoying our time. But in the lockdowns, you can't remain isolated for too long.
No.
It's so hard if you got no connection to the outside world other than your data when it runs out. But if you have fiber at home, that allows you and your whole family to be connected still, but in a virtual way with your friends and your families. So it's not just about the opportunities that comes to it. It's about staying connected with family that gives us that kind of well-being. Just being happy that, hey, I spoke to mum and dad. I spoke to my sister, I spoke to my brother, I saw my children. But we're still being connected. If you don't have fiber, you need to contact Makanet.
Yes, and I'm going to get my quote right now. We wanted to talk a little bit more about your journey. So, spoken about COVID, what COVID's done, and how it's affected us, and that we have to stay connected. But before COVID hit, you did a lot of traveling with work.
Yeah, when I was living in Niue, I came here end of December 2014. I used to work for government back in the 90s. Might show my age. So I left government and then I worked for a company that was doing internet services on the island. So throughout that time, they were paying me to travel the world and to have better understanding and also to represent not just Niue, but also the Pacific voice. And I was part of the Pacific Islands chapter under the Internet Society of the World that advocates for better policies regarding the internet. Also talking about domain names. Ours is .nu, New is .nz, more.ws. I was able to be in these arenas and atmosphere where they are discussing international, things that had to do with everything that is made up of the internet. So I had that experience and just the opportunity to see the rest of the world while living on Niue and traveling. Unfortunately today, there's not much traveling going on, but just took those opportunities to learn at the same time. A lot of the things that I've learned over time I did not actually learn in New Zealand when I came here for studies at Unitec. Most of that is done back in UA with self-taught, wireless technology, telecommunications, internet services, domain names. A lot of these things read up on the internet and Dr. Google.
Dr. Google.
So that was it. And New Year's like probably like a lot of our other home nations. There's no Bunnings down the road or by the team that you could go down and grab a tool or something that you need. You had to improvise and innovate, figure out things, how to do something.
Yeah.
So those were the opportunities that I took and learned a whole lot of stuff. And then to come to New Zealand and bring that knowledge and experience and now help our people out. But I still, run that thing in Niue, so it's good.
Is Maka the only Pacific internet provider?
So in New Zealand, it was the first. There is also now another Pacific-owned internet service provider that specializes in satellite.
Oh, okay.
I'm really happy that another company has come in. It's called Roy, and just shout out to my friend Richard.
Yeah.
And they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Growing in the same time space that everyone else is in. So it's a big area to step into, but if you have that passion, he does, and then there's nothing to stop you from chasing that dream and be able to connect people. So yeah, Makanet is one of the first. Now there's another, and hopefully there'll be others to come on board. I'm focusing mainly, Makanet focuses mainly on South Auckland, as well as other parts of, we have customers outside of Auckland. But if there's another Pacific-owned ISP in Wellington, right, in some of these other hubs, that's an amazing thing. It's all about bringing our people up to the part where we can play a part in servicing our people, not just to depend on the big name companies, that we just follow through and just be cheap.
Yeah. Don't be sheep. Be the one that has the fastest internet in South Auckland. Connect with Makanet. You've spoken about these rural areas that you've connected back to. Is that, do you look at yourself and think that's where you're going to go? Like, not just here in South Auckland. You see a vision of like going out to the rural areas and further out to everywhere in New Zealand, because the other area I think now that we need a massive connection is Hawke's Bay, where a lot of the picking or the pickers travelled into, they need your service, they need your help, because they must miss, and they're probably paying like $80 or something for data a week plus. I think 80 plus.
Oh, that's
data.
crazy.
Yeah. Is that like an area or?
Well, that's where I started from, internet through satellite to rural and remote regions of New Zealand. But over time, I've stepped away to come and work on this and allow others to continue running that. It could be possible to come back into that field, but right now I'm more focused on leveraging the opportunities that urban areas have, especially because fiber is connecting everyone else. But the opportunity, if I had that, to go back and support our people in rural and remote areas, most definitely it'll be something that I would be keen on doing. It is tough to live in rural places. Connections is hard, so I've seen that, and most definitely if someone in the Hawke's Bay comes along and says, hey, can you do this kind of work, sure, we can help them out, or we can pass them along to someone that we know, like this Pacifica-owned ISP, which is really something that we can work together. So it's not that I'm just the only one available to you guys. Hopefully there's others that can grow their own to be able to tell a story that, hey, us Pacifica people who came back in time to help in all the other labor-intensive jobs have now grown and risen to the point where we are taking charge of our future and moving forward toward towards what could be better for our children.
Because it's not common.
No.
It's not common to have, earlier on the show, came through, asked Laura for assistance and direction.
Yes.
And Laura knows everyone, basically, you said. But, or not, in that business forum world. But there wasn't anyone in that field. How does that make you feel? Like, as the only or the first Pacifica owned service provider, and for the very small island of Niue, how did that make you feel? Came to Laura, she was able to assist you in some kind of solution. How does that make you feel? The first.
Well, I wasn't really looking at being the first. I was just on a mission to do what I needed to do to be able to start the business, as well as the opportunity that presented itself. Being able to be the first is one of those things, and just to get into it, and it's like, okay, great. But we don't actually sit back and say, okay, we're the first, and then because that doesn't actually give you anything. You got to do all the hard work and keep grounding it out. But just being fortunate to be the first is, it doesn't come across to us. One of those things we take greatness, and would love to help others who want to start in other towns. It's all about working together, collaborating, and taking charge of ourselves. If, say, one big provider is providing connections to 1 million people, how many of those are our Pacific brothers and sisters? Should they stay in there and be complaining about the service? Or should they look at supporting our own people or starting their own? Why not?
Oh, I love it. I love that we don't have to wait 45 minutes anymore in the queue and constantly push zero. Makane is definitely helping our Pacifica community. Before we go, we're just going to, I think we're going to go into a music break, because I wanted, right after the break, we're going to talk about what the difference is, and also what was the big, massive, what were the challenges in doing this, and also a little bit more about mum. We're going to talk a little bit more about mum, because it's Mother's Day this weekend, and it's really important that we talk about mum and all that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions and you need to know where you can find Makanet, comment below or head over to Makanet Facebook page, and I'm sure they will be able to reply straight away, because Joe, I've met Joe and he's pretty cool. I can vouch for Joe. There was a time that we were trying to connect our phone in the office, and just like that, he was here and served us with a smile. But this song we're going to play next, stay tuned. This is dedicated to all of our whānau who are hovering around that internet box. Solution, Makanet. Stay tuned.
Amalu ai lo mafafau amalu ai foi lo tuina nau malo utau wanau safai o e mau o nana fifo imale aso nayo na fa mawala lo ele angalo apai telefia alofa matau mafai apai foi ele ai ele se itali mai wa de pea oi lo angana oi kuna fai mauanga sala e o sea venga ua mamafa ilo nei o langa Hawhai fo'i ele ai Se I tali mai Ua vea pea oi I loa nganga Hawhai maua sala Eo se abenga ua mamapa I lo nei o langa Eo se abenga ua mamapa I lo nei o langa I lo nei o langa
I don't know anything about internet, and during the break I'm just like, oh my gosh, so nervous because I've never ever just the wealth of knowledge that you brought in today really kind of like that research that I did obviously hasn't even done anything or touch on. So it was really nervous because I only know this much about the internet. I only know the Wi-Fi password. So am I nervous? Yes, I am. And that's why you're here to answer all of the big questions and how MakaNet can be the solution that we have been waiting for. And today, here at the Pacific Business Hub, the one and only Mani Lui, founder and owner of MakaNet, the very first and only, and now one of the Pacific-owned internet service provider here in New Zealand. We were talking a little bit about all of the big names, but what is the difference with MakaNet?
Well, I've already mentioned earlier the main difference for our services on a business-grade network. So, meaning that when businesses, organizations that use our service close for the end of the day, and then that service is now available to be added back into our home connections. So compared to others, there'll be thousands of people on that home connection.
So that was the difference. But because I'm still trying to understand and get my head around the whole, how does that work? Like,
so that basically works in the back end of all the numbers that are being crunched automatically by the computer. That the service works over. So we're not having to do that manually daily.
Yeah,
but probably one of our best assets, having the one-to-one contact with our customers, being able to answer their questions, as well as even going to their homes for their installation. Most times other providers will courier you their router and expect you to turn it on with instructions from their call center that you had to wait for 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
So for us, it's a one-to-one operation. We want to have a relationship with our customers. And these are some of the small things that I've learned over 20 years of operating in a service in Niue. And I've just brought that across to New Zealand and applied it here, being able to, it's the same dynamics, just the different areas of operation.
With all of what you're doing, the internet, have you had challenges? Like, what has been like the biggest challenge starting up
I think the challenge probably would be, I guess, the changes of telecommunications, but also finding how to financially provide for the startup. That was one of the most difficult ones. Fortunately, I was able to be supported by businesses and friends and families to come in and say, hey, while you're starting up, we can help you with this. So bills still have to be paid and bread has to be put on the table for children. But at the same time, to be able to grow the business with a vision that when it gets to a certain level of customer base, then the break even happens. And I think that's the recruiting times for not just for myself, but also the company, families, and over the years. So that's probably one of the hardest parts of it. The more difficult one is saying to our Pacifica people that we actually are an internet service provider, and we actually do it legitimately on the Chorus network. So it's not just going to be some Mickey Mouse outfit. We're not a cowboy outfit. We're for real. It's going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's legitimate. When you say legitimate, has there been in the past someone who's kind of gone and rewired something somewhere? Has that been an experience? Or
I think sometimes when people move across, their lounge or their rooms, there has to be some kind of a mistake if you don't know what you're doing. But I think for legitimacy, I'm talking about just a belief. Because sometimes when you walk into, say, an office or a business, or even to talk to people at home and say, hey, we're Makanet, we can provide you service. They say, oh, we don't know about you. Can you actually give us some records, references? Who do you deal with? Who have you connected? So we have used the big names for us in Pacific, like the Pacific Business Hub, some of the schools that we also provide for, Pacific Education Center, Pacific Business Trust, some of the other churches that we provide services to their offices. So these are some of the names that we use for our benefit, because that puts us into a place of, oh, okay, so we can go and ask those people, okay, do you actually provide the internet service? So yeah, it helps us, talking about other services that we've offered before. It's not just internet services that we offer. We also do things like online platforms, websites, web development, emails, DNS, domain services. And on top of just fiber, we also have capabilities around wireless 4G, fixed wireless, as well as ADSL, VDSL, and also VoIP, voice over IP, which is your phones. We can bring phones to both your home or your businesses.
Gosh, that's so much. I kind of feel like I'm in a matrix kind of, for all the numbers coming through, because I'm still trying to connect all of them, because that's a lot to take. Did you have to, you mentioned that a lot of it has been self-taught, and all of this has been driven by a lot of passion.
Yeah, having to be here in New Zealand and then learning, because obviously some of the technology that we're offering today on Makanet are not being offered by my ISP in Niue. We only do wireless and satellite in Niue. In New Zealand, we're doing ADSL, VDSL, as well as fiber, as well as voice over IP. So those are the things that we have had to have training on ourselves with the providers, learn some of the things ourselves. I was fortunate to hire staff that are competent and with capabilities in that. That comes from backgrounds like Forest into our business. So we're just happy and fortunate that we're able to take everything and put it together and be able to offer our services to our people.
As a young kid, do you ever remember rewiring things?
Oh, of course.
Because that's when I see internet provider or internet service or the owner of, do you ever remember who was it? Can I compare it to? MacGyver. That's a name I haven't used in a while.
I was watching that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I was taking stereos in Niue when I was in high school and taking out, speakers and putting in bigger ones and just rewiring everything. And the funniest part was like trying to make my own soldering iron. Don't do that at home. So in Niue, I was always inquisitive, but I didn't have what the children today have,
Yeah.
which is, all your Google and YouTube stuff. If we had that back then, we would have been more advanced. But even without it, just being inquisitive and learning and being open to learn new things.
Yeah.
You're never going to stop learning. So I'm always encouraged by seeing other people's work
Yeah.
and other people's YouTube channels. I keep watching other people, what they're doing. If I want to know how to do something, then obviously I need to learn how to figure out. If I don't know or don't have the time, then I'm going to find someone who actually knows what they're doing and then bring that person and say, hey, you do this thing.
How was your mum? How was mum with that? All of that. You're taking the radio apart, you're taking this apart. How was she with that? How did that sit with mum? Because, she would have paid X amount for that particular stereo, and you've kind of gone and ripped it apart to do your thing.
I don't think they understood what I was doing back in the day. Mum was, always being there, supportive, but didn't actually ground me. I think I was fortunate of being mum's boy.
Yeah, mum's boy.
She didn't tell me off about taking apart one radio and then putting something. It was only because everything kept working that no one questioned, like, what are you doing with this?
Yep.
What are you doing with that? I even had a loudspeaker on the outside of the house wired to my stereo on the inside, which ran on just a local radio.
Yep.
So I turn it on in the morning when I wake up and leave it on the whole day. So eventually my neighbor said, please don't turn it off because that's what we're listening to. So, and things like that. So we weren't hearing much of the radio on the inside. It sounded like a normal radio. You just turn down, the voice, the noise. But outside, if you walk out, it is blasting out there.
So you've been connecting people since ages.
Well, I guess wirelessly on the radio.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Mum was always supportive. Great to be growing up in a small community like Niue, safe, just being around all your families and friends. So I came here with my other grandparents in Wellington, and I was supposed to spend a long time there. I spent 1 year and decided that wasn't it for me.
Yeah.
So I went back and never came home. I never came back to here. I just went home and stayed.
Yeah.
So Mum was always a supportive grandmother in Niue. Ma, she's one of the strong figures in my life that always supported me growing up, coming, home. Their home is before my actual home from school. So I stopped there and food would be ready. Taro or something else with, and my grandfather would have tuna. It's just me and him, and Ma would be sitting with us and eating and doing our thing. And after that, I'll be walking home later, and I'll be arriving home, and my sister used to say, "Oh, here comes the boy from university," because I'm turning up just before it's dark, and everyone else from primary school had got to home long time ago. So but.
I love that, the university, because that is the joke when you've gone too long. Gone too long. Like, oh, I just finished work, or you just finished your studies. But with Mum, all of growing up, has there been any advice that Mum has given you during that time that's helped you along the way with successful business here with Makane?
I think probably one of the things that I've learned best from my own mum and grandmothers, the kindness. Always come across very gentle people. It's like kind in everything. So, especially my grandmother Niue, growing up with her, I think that's come across to me as part of the quality that I have, is just to know and understand others. So it's been a great journey. Sadly, my grandparents have passed on, but Mum and Dad are still ticking along. So happy Mother's Day, Mum.
Well, you'll be making it. What is Mum? Is in Niue, yes.
Mum is
but
in
you'll
Niue.
be making it back home on time for Mother's Day.
Of course, I'll be in quarantine, but I'll be on Niue by middle of this week. So just looking forward to being back home and being with the family and children. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank Laura here at the Pacific Business Hub for the platform that she provides, not just for me, but also for the other businesses here. we've been at the hub. You know, if you're out there needing to find a way of how to start a business, then most definitely, if you're Pacifica, you need to come to this place and talk to Laura.
Yeah.
She will lead you into the right direction. And if there is space as well, take up space.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things of starting a telco in New Zealand would be, oh, so where's your office? It's in my garage. So don't be that. So if you want to have that everything tidied up, having a legitimate place to come to look, you know, corporate enough, but also have the vibe of our Pacifica people. A lot of the times we're just having, you know, our own times and doing it, but still have that, you know, the professional spirit amongst our you know, fellow Pacifica. So I'm really proud that there's a Pacific Business Hub to cater for us, as well as those that have supported us, our families, our friends, and those that did not support. Good on you, because that's driven me even better.
I love that.
Going out to all of you guys, thank you for listening. It was really, really great to come through a whole journey. I didn't think that, you know, growing up, I will get to this point where I'm operating a ISP in New Zealand. It's I guess it's a benefit. Fortunate enough to be blessed with community, and I'd always want to support and hire our Pacifica, you know, people, and even to work with them. Others that are coming along the line. I'm always open. I'm on Facebook. Can't find me. Always come find someone in the office and say, hey, where's this guy on an ISP? I want to start some technology company, but I don't know what to do. I'm always open to, you know, talk on Facebook and say, hey, I started mine like this. I might not know the answers, but I'll just give you where I've been, and it might inspire you in some way. But definitely hoping that, you know, our Pacifica people would actually generate ourselves into the point where we work with our Māori cousins and families to make this place an even better place for us to live in. Since a lot of us have moved to New Zealand, you know, for one reason or another, we're here now. So we might as well not just, you know, say, oh, we're finding it hard to do this. Let's all work together to help those who are in need. So we take ourselves to the next level. Our people came here on the boats, lived in the cities, worked, and slowly owned their own homes, and are now hundreds and thousands here.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of successful stories as well. Look, you know, it's been an absolute honour having you here, but you know, we all know that there's challenges, really, really tough times that we face as a Pacific Islander, but that hasn't stopped you. That didn't stop you.
Together, we can make it. So, you know, with Makanet, we can only be successful because of you. If there are no customers, we might as well pack up and just go home and then go sell something else. But if we don't have the customers, then we don't do anything. So if you're looking to change your provider, if you're worried about your provider, if you're angry about your provider, and you're having a Slack service, come to us. I assure you, you will be our VIP customer and be part of the family. Part of the community, part of our village, to be able to tell a bigger story one day that, you know, we're being provided for by our own Pacific-owned ISP, not having to call somewhere outside of New Zealand, talk to somewhere else. Maybe next time if you call Makanet in the near future, you could be talking to someone who's in our call center, perhaps in Samoa, Tonga, Niue, Cook Islands. So those are kind of some of the opportunities that we also
is that the vision that you're...
Yes, most definitely to have a virtual team that could operate from anywhere, and helping some of our Pacifica people that, you know, can't come to New Zealand, but obviously would be better off just living in the islands and doing work. Why not?
If there was one advice, that burning advice that you had during, I know that as a business owner that you would have had, you know, so many times you've hit that dead end road or a roadblock, and you mentioned earlier on in the show that went to seek for kind of assistance, and every time it was a no, it was a no. It wasn't until you came and there was a light here at the Pacific Business Hub with Laura, she was able to get past the roadblock, to finally see the light. Was there that one advice that was always in your heart that kind of got you over that?
I think it's the part, well, actually two. It's remembering where I started.
Yeah.
Why that, thing, why did I start it?
Yeah.
Just to remind myself. And I'm always of the belief of, it might be difficult now, but think what it could be next year. So take, for example, when I started Makanet, I had 0 customers.
Who was your first?
Laura. So the first
You
believer
Yeah.
is Pacific Business Hub, gave us the opportunity. So now we provide a service that, the Pacific Business Hub businesses use, including this live to you guys. We provide for their voice, and majority of the business owners in the Pacific Business Hub, we provide for their homes as well.
Yeah.
So, just the two things. Why did I start it? And think about in 1 year's time what it could be. There's always a hope for a better tomorrow.
I love it. I love it. And we love that you're here. You've shared your story. And again, if you want that VIP treatment, here it is. Here he is. He's given us his story with our viewers. And I've been inspired, even though I'm like, my mind is like, fiber, broadband, Wi-Fi. There's so much that in my mind, it blows my mind that someone from UWare has been able to, go up against, not even against, but to be able to shed that light in that zone that we just didn't expect. Our Pasifika people. So I'm a believer. I believe the service, and we use Makanet, the service, and I'm pretty grateful. Thank you for making the time to come here to share your story. Did you have any last final words for our viewers?
Of course. If you want to reach us, our phone number is 0800 12 12 81, or you can find us on makanet.nz. My name is Imani Louis on Facebook. Just connect with me, or you just come down to the hub and talk to anyone. We got our cards in the front for our contact, and our email is easy, connect@makanet.nz.
Love it. There you have it. He is not just your typical CEO that's gonna to the side. He is going
We'll leave the CEO to everyone else. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
just a service provider. I handle your stuff. I give you the solutions. You connect, and there won't be any congestion.
Love it. Thank you. That's
Thank you
us
very
for
much.
today. Don't forget Makanet. We're going to put up all the details on our Facebook page, and if you follow myself, you can guarantee that I'm going to plaster my page with Makanet over the next couple of months. Thank you for Whetei Lava, and everyone, God bless. Stay tuned. Tomorrow we have another special guest. Check our pages. We'll send out the information shortly. Pass with what?
Happy Mother's Day.
Sino ngata ole masina o semana fafia ofetu lo koloma wa ona ibayai niti lo nata tamu fai sila taman sirai o te utuai na serela fa Fili, Ordino
Tell us a bit about your mum.
My mum migrated to New Zealand when she was 15 years old from Samoa. She went to MIT where she studied nursing.
Tell us a bit about your mum.
My mum migrated to New Zealand when she was 15 years old from Samoa. She went to MIT where she studied nursing, and she's been a nurse ever since.
Nice. And what do you love most about her?
I love that she's kind and she doesn't expect anything in return for her kindness.
What was your experience like today when you were getting dressed with your daughter?
Oh, the experience was really, really interesting. It felt really warm and a lot of pride, you know, just I haven't done this before, and to actually see my daughter being dressed up was quite special.
What are 3 important lessons that she has taught you as a woman?
3 important lessons my mum has taught me. Tertiary education is really important. It's not for everyone, but I'm really glad that she always enforced that idea to my sister and I. We're both graduates now and working in fields that we study. Secondly is the kindness thing, be kind. And the last thing is patience.
Sorry, Bob.
What are your 3 favourite things about your daughter?
Oh, she's funny.
So in here.
She's impatient.
I'm not very patient. My mum is very patient, so it's something I'm still learning from her.
But she's also very loving and giving. And she's beautiful. I thought I'd add that in.
My experience today at this photo shoot was really beautiful and buzzy. I enjoyed dressing up with my mum and felt close to her like I always do. It was really nice to connect with my Samoan culture today. Hi Mum, I love you so much. I'm so grateful to have a mum like you. You are very patient with me. You've taught me so many great lessons. You've been here for me through my darkest times, and I love you forever.
What are your favourite things about your mum?
She's always been the backbone in our family. She's really she's got a really big heart. She's strong and she's confident. She watches my son. No, but yeah, she's like always willing to help, like anyone and everyone, and I love that about her.
You're going to be a mother soon. How does that feel?
It was very challenging, but very exciting and strengthened my bond with my sister and my mom.
And you're a mother yourself. How has that journey been with you?
It's been good, but like it's really hard, especially because like you have this whole child that depends on you, and it's like I can't even look after myself. But yeah, like, but it's really good. It's really rewarding.
So how was your experience getting dressed with your sister and your mum? So your sister, who's a mum, and your mum.
It was exciting because this was something that we've always wanted to do. Or well, I've always thought of it, but never really had the chance to, and the opportunity arose. I loved it. I loved it a lot, especially like doing it with my sister and my mum. I kind of like low-key didn't want to do it because I'm not really a camera person, but it was fun. Had a lot of good laughs in there.
Sorry.